going to do a little review. So, thank you for letting me know because I actually forgot.
Wonder Woman's here.
Huh?
Wonder Woman's here.
Oh, Wonder Woman's here. Now we can actually start. Excellent. So, apocalyptic literature. So, in the Greek, it comes from the Greek, the word apocalyptic. It's apocalypses. Apocalypses, okay? And what it literally means is unveiling or revealing. Unveiling or revealing, okay? So, it's like taking the curtains away and seeing what's behind, okay? It's a revelation of some secret about the future. That's what's the revealing, that's what's the unveiling, okay? Most times than not, it's usually held by minority groups and minority sects, okay? And the reason why is because most often than not, these minority groups and sects are the ones that are most oppressed because they're not of the status quo, if you will. So apocalyptic literature is really a form of escape because it is a dissatisfaction of current situations. So the whole idea, the message, generally speaking, this is generally speaking, but the message of apocalyptic literature for these disparaged groups are things will get better. Things will get better. Yes?
Okay, so if it's supposed to be a hopeful message, then
Right.
why do so many times people look at it, and I'm guilty of this, look at the end times or stuff like that in such a negative way?
Not negative, but freaked out, right?
Yeah.
Well, because opposite of it is the fact that basically the status quo will be destroyed. And so in many ways, we tend to cling to status quo. It's convenient, it's comfortable. So there's a part of something within us that gets freaked out because basically majority of the world gets decimated in these apocalyptic literature, and it gets destroyed and so forth. And we might be part of that. That's where the freak out happens. But it's to encourage faithfulness. It's to encourage obedience within the remnant, that small group, because they're the ones that will survive it all. So.
My status quo, you mean?
The majority, because in apocalyptic literature, the majority is evil.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. May I continue on?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the characteristics of apocalyptic. What will you usually see in apocalyptic literature? Big thing, huge thing, visions. You'll see visions in apocalyptic literature. All right? And please, and I think pastors understand this, but they don't say it. But we need to understand this. They are symbolic. They are mysterious. They're not literal. You don't literally see an animal with eyes, or you don't literally see a dragon with many heads. That's not actually happening. That's all symbolic language. Okay? That symbolic language represents something. Yes.
Or.
It could be something because they don't understand it yet. I like when you said dragon with heads, because it could easily be an airplane with so many windows, and they never see it like that.
I would disagree. I would personally disagree.
You think so?
I think so.
Oh,
I
my
think so.
goodness.
I think so. I don't think it's a telling of the future in that way.
Okay.
I think it's more of ideas, and I think a lot of times they're nations. But I just don't think. I personally don't. But I could be wrong. So yes.
What caused you to think that way, though?
What
caused you to get to that conclusion?
Well, when see the reason why it's just merely an opinion is because I just don't know the ancient world mindset, right? But honestly, if I saw a vision of something flying that like a jet, it doesn't look like a bird. You know what I'm saying? Or it doesn't look like this. It's something that's flying, yes, but it's just so that's just my personal opinion, But I think also you have to read it within the context, and that's where we need the interpretation, and the interpretation comes from the context of it. So, and a lot of times, And again, I haven't read it for a while, for a long time, but I don't think it's representing that, in my opinion. Yes?
Okay, so you're saying like things are like visions, but where does the idea of this creature come from? You know, that's what just kind of like, oh, maybe there is like, maybe
That's actually a great question. That's a great biblical studies question. Because a lot of them use the same kind of symbols, like animals and stuff like that. Where does that come from? I don't know, but that's a great question. Because there must be some kind of popular understanding of animals and so forth, you know? If I could guess at this present moment, when you think of football, okay? Seattle, what are they? Seahawks. When you think of, I don't know.
Miami Dolphins.
Miami, oh, very good, very good. There's these symbols that mean so much more than just the animal, you know? So when you see a mouse, in your mind it's like, oh, it's just a mouse, but it could also mean Mickey Mouse. It could be this, it could be that, you know? And so I'm wondering if these were popular symbols during the time and they just used it and extrapolated it, you know? So because Assyria, a lot of times was considered a lion, you know? And so I'm wondering if that's kind of the idea.
But I'm more on like the seraphim.
That,
because it's like there has to be like an initial thing that
Sure, and that's a great question. I just don't know, but that's a very good question. So, all right, so they are symbolic and mysterious. They need interpretation. We have to understand they need interpretation. And sometimes in the apocalyptic literature, usually the interpreter is a heavenly being. He's a guide, okay? So a lot of times you'll see the prophet with another person. He's usually an angel. He's usually a famous biblical person who died, like for example, Moses or Abraham or something. He'll say, hey, what do you see? And the prophet will go, I have no idea what I'm seeing. I'm freaked out right now. And so the whole idea is, well, I'll tell you. And then he'll go on and on and on. The unfortunate thing or the difficult thing is sometimes we just don't know what the interpretation is. And so the interpretation will need interpretation. And so we have to figure that out as Bible students, okay? Another characteristic, authors of such writing are anonymous and would use pen names of famous persons, okay? So, for example, does anyone know who Samuel Clemens is?
No.
Samuel Clemens.
It really sounds familiar.
It's the real name of an author.
Oh,
Mark Twain. Mark Twain's a pen name. Okay? And so, yes.
Is that kind of like the whole J.K. Rowling?
Exactly. J.K. Rowling is not her real
It's
name.
a woman, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a woman, but I forgot her name. But J.K. Rowling is a good example. Why would J.K. Rowling change her name?
Wasn't it because as a woman, like,
Very
Yeah.
good. Very good. Exactly, because apparently, huh?
Joanne.
Right, but it's anonymous. It's vague when you just give the initials of your first name, J.K. You know, Who else did it in Christian writing?
B. Paul.
C.S. Lewis,
I was about to say
Paul,
C.S. Lewis.
J.R.R. Tolkien, G.K. Chesterton. You know, it's following this pattern. But that's exactly right. The reason why she gave a different name is because there was, I guess, if you were a woman, they wouldn't have accepted it or something like that. So that's a lot of reasons why people use pen names. It's to make things popular. It's to make the work popular. It's to have this kind of mysterious approach. It's like, who wrote this? Simon wrote it? Oh, I'm not going to read it. He's a schmuck, you know? But if I said this, you know, S.U. wrote it, it's like, ooh, who's S.U.? You know, I'll find out. And so that's the whole idea of the pen name. That's the purpose of the pen name. It's to make the actual work popular. But it's also to make it significant. So if someone told you, hey, there's this ancient document and Solomon wrote it, a lot of people who might be into Solomon say, oh, let me read it, let me check it out, you know? So it was to encourage the popularity of the actual work.
Isn't that why most books in the Bible, like, other people helped write it?
Right. Exactly. And then a lot of times when they add the title to it, because keep in mind, the titles that we have in the Bible, they weren't there in the beginning.
Or numbers.
Or numbers, right? Or verses, right? For example, the Gospel of Mark. That title came 200, 300, 400 years after the actual work was created. No one actually knows who wrote the Gospel of Mark. No one actually knows who wrote Matthew, Luke, or John. Okay? But tradition places these names upon it. Okay? Why? These are famous people during the time and during Christian history. So they wanted to promulgate or perpetuate or trying to expand and spread the story, So that's one of the reasons why they use pen names, okay? All right, another one is it's very pessimistic apocalyptic literature. Very pessimistic. Right now, it just sucks, right? That's kind of the idea that you want to get. The present day and age sucks. Yes.
Do you think they think like that so it makes like the whole full message even like stronger?
Exactly. And when I say sucks, it's very limited, that word. It's just horrible. Like literally there's butchery. There's evil people in power. And those evil people want to destroy the good people, the righteous people. They tear down, eat, and destroy. It's running amok, right? So it just really is bad right now. It sucks right now, So that's the kind of idea, all right? But it doesn't end there. It does not end there. Let's continue on. May I continue on?
Yeah,
Sure.
All right, cool. There's more things. It's very dualistic, apocalyptic literature. Very dualistic. Yin yang, opposites, good versus evil, and so forth. It is my belief that Christian evangelicals in America are more dualistic than they are monotheistic. Yes.
And that's because they're always like, what would you do if you went to hell?
Right.
Or something like that.
Right. And we always promote the villainy of Satan. Like when evil things or bad things happen to people, it's like, oh, Satan's the one that's doing it, and it's the devil that's doing it. But here's the understanding in monotheism: who allowed the devil to do it? You know what I'm saying? So it's like God in some way, shape, or form allowed the devil to do it. And a lot of people in America especially cannot comprehend that, especially in evangelical Christianity, because they have this very narrow view of who God is. It sucks. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to lighten the situation of evil happening in the world. It does. It's horrible. It sucks. And I will admit, it somewhat bothers me that God allows it, but there's a reason. I can't explain the reason now, but at the end of it all, it's going to be for the good. But that's a monotheistic understanding. God has control over everything, and in some way, Satan is allowed to do what, unfortunately, he does, But it's so much more convenient in Christianity, and I saw your hand. It's so much more convenient in Christianity to see things dualistic because you take away the responsibility from God. God had no say in the shootings and the massacres. God had no say in the killing of children. God had no say in that. God had no say in that. It's like, yeah, you're right. Because there's this evil one, right? And it's just like, it's so convenient to have a dualistic kind of religion, but if we truly believe what we believe in the Bible, it's not dualistic. It's not. Emily, did you have your hand up too?
I was just gonna bring it back
Okay.
to Isaiah and just like.
Good. Right. Exactly. Because we need to, as people, if we are monotheistic, and someone says, "Why does God allow this crap to happen? Why does He allow this to happen?" And the honest answer at that moment is, I have no freaking idea. But I tell you what, I tell you what, I am a monotheist. I believe in monotheism. I know that there's evil in the world. And because of that, I'm comforted by monotheism. Here's why. At the end of it all, the justice bringer will bring justice. He will bring justice. He will make things right. I know that in faith. I believe that in faith. It might not happen right now. It might not happen in 15 years from now. It might not even happen 70 years from now. It might not even happen in our lifetime, but he will make it right. That's the power of monotheism. In dualism, there's a chance that he will not make it right. Because they're equal forces. They were equal forces. What if just one day Satan finds a loophole or finds this crutch on God and he could consume God? That's the problem with dualism. That's the problem with dualism. Okay? Monotheism says at the end of it all, the one who's on top will prevail.
Yeah.
And it's God. He's God and he's good.
I know, like, it's a hard concept to, like, grasp and work through because I'd always wondered why we equate in the same, like, level or realm, the adversary and God, like, how, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, I still don't really know, like, because I get why we do it, but I don't know how,
I think it's an expression of reality that people really see, they don't want to admit, because when you admit there's evil in the world, there's a moral compass and that goes higher and higher. But they really believe deep down as human beings that there's evil in the world and that evil's powerful, you know? And I think that's where it comes from, you know? And it crosses cultural grounds and stuff. And
that's what I was about to point out, is that like dualism makes it seem like we're basically putting God and the devil in the same. And I was also wondering what like Chelsea said, the whole like we have such a problem with the whole problem of evil, like whatever, like why is there evil in the world? But like we always think that it's like the devil is the one that's like always doing it, which I mean in a way like he is, but it's just the fact that like I think I always wondered why, like what you said about the whole I don't know, but I do know that like he's gonna bring I never knew how to like respond to someone because I was just like I don't even know for myself. I don't even know, you know. But I think that we give the devil a little bit too much credit.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, this is a question that I've had for a really long time.
Okay.
Why didn't when Lucifer when it started to get prideful and stuff like that, why did God make a hell? Why didn't he just poof him gone?
I don't know.
Totally just you're ridiculous, you're gone. And just because he had that power to do that.
But then you could go even further and say, well, you know, God is omnipotent or
Would that make his character look
But that also being said, where do we get the Satan story?
Biblioteca.
Very good. There's nowhere in the Bible that talks about the Satan story. Nowhere in the Bible.
They just talk about the king of.
The king of the air, I see Satan fall down like lightning, and so that it never gives the full story of what happened to Satan. We add that to tradition, and you know where that tradition comes from? From the medieval times.
Hold up.
It's not that far. So a lot of people have a popular conception of who Satan is. And it comes from the medieval time. It also comes from Puritan times, you know? And so it's not that far. And that being said, I think that's one of the reasons why we have this weird view of Satan. Red horns, pitchforks, goat head, and stuff like that. It's all symbolic, but it's just like, those things stick. And those things shouldn't really stick, you know? It should let things go, you know, and stuff. But, yeah, go ahead.
So do you think that we should... I'm gonna say it in really layman terms, but do you think that we should believe in that story then?
No, I personally don't.
Is that a story to pass down? Because in my mind, I don't want to pass down something to my kids. The idea.
I could share the story because it's comforting to know origins. It's comforting to know origins. It's comforting to know the origins of evil. Why? Because when we know origins, we can understand it or we can control it. You know what I'm saying? The very fact that Satan doesn't have an origin story is scary.
Makes it seem scary.
It's scary. And that's why we should shudder from him. We shouldn't even delve into stuff that he does. You know what I'm saying? And so I could share the story, but I'll let my kids or I'll let people know it's not really biblical. It's not biblical. It's tradition. But that's okay. That's okay because there's a lot of great stories out there from tradition that I would express in news. For example, Peter. Peter, we don't know if Peter died on the cross upside down. But such a great story. Such a great story, you know? So, Brandon, you had your hand up.
Yeah, so like, is it because you have this view because it would basically not make God like God?
Right. Dualism doesn't make God omnipotent. He doesn't. It's this. He's just an opposite force of evil.
Like, yeah, like that's kind of like how I see it. Like, God is like, he sends so much swag and it's scary. You know, he's like, yeah, like, so what? You know,
Yeah.
But not like, I'm sure it sucks. You know that. I mean, that's what I don't get. Like, you know, that's in that fight with you. Like, man, like you really love your own children so much. Why? You want family, but why? You know? But,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
Right. And think of it also in this monotheistic sense. God is in control. For some reason, he allows the rebellion of Satan to happen. He allows the rebellion of Satan to happen. This should be in some way comforting for us. Because if he allows the great evil one, his rebellion to happen, he kind of gives us grace for when we rebel against him. You know what I'm saying? So I was just like, wow, thank you, Lord. I don't want to rebel, but thank you. You know? Cynthia.
I have two thoughts. One was in comment to like Emily's, why doesn't he just like, why did he let Satan go?
Yeah.
Instead of just like annihilating. But I was thinking like, it's because God still loves him, you know?
Wow.
Because that's.
Oh my gosh, that sucks. Yeah.
Right?
No, that's good.
That's good.
That's really good. It shows how much love he has for creation. That's super good. Holy
What is it?
goodness.
That's so annoying.
That is so annoying.
That's that the reason why he allows Satan to live on.
No, I said, but is it?
Is it?
No, I'm saying, you said that's good, that's good, that's good.
Oh, is it good? Is it good? Here's the reason why I think it is because Satan in many ways is a reflection of our worst characteristics as human beings. You know,
Or are we a reflection of it? I'm just kidding.
True, right, and we can get all into that philosophical hoity-toityness, you know? But, so in many ways, how I see it is like Satan personifies as the worst of me. You know, and if he allows that, if God allows that, it really is a reflection of him allowing me to be rebellious, him allowing me to be angry at him allowing me at moments cursing me, you know? But God is still God, you know, and just like, and in that his characteristic is eternal love. And so it's just like, I step back and I realize in my life of how many times I rebelled, how many times I cursed, how many times I did all these things, and I realize I'm still living. I still wake up every day with breath in me. I still, you know, I'm still walking. I have the privilege to do what I'm doing here. You know, who am I, you know, to usurp power? Who am I to hurt people? You know, it's just like he provides so much grace for me. Who am I to hurt others when they hurt me? You know, it's beautiful. It's rather significant for me. But yeah, so thank you. Okay, may I continue on? So what is this dualism? It is a battle between good and evil. Okay, and these individuals aren't humans. They are higher than humans. It's the spiritual forces of good and evil. And apparently their actions control the events of our history. So if certain empires fell, it's because something in the cosmic realm caused it, kind of thing. Okay? So apocalyptic, it really connects our reality to the spiritual reality. They're interwoven, they're interconnected, okay? And that apocalyptic always talks about a final cosmic battle. A final cosmic battle, okay? And at that moment, there's always a winner. Always a winner. And who's that winner?
The good.
The good, always. God in his goodness will always win, okay? That's what happens with this characteristic, okay? Then there's also another characteristic of divine intervention for the just who are suffering, okay? Divine intervention for the just who are suffering. And how is that intervention sometimes expressed? Resurrection. Wrath for the unjust, but resurrection for the just. Because the evil one thinks that death is the final say. It's amazing how limited and narrow their perspective is. All the time, bad guys in these apocalyptic literature, they think death is the final say. And that's why they kill the righteous. It's like, it's no more, we're done, you know? But the good have a greater perspective. And they say, no, death isn't it. Because the life bringer is on our side. And we bring life. It's just like in Aslan, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That final battle where all the good die, you know? But it's the evil ones have such a limited view that death is the final chapter for people. And then Aslan comes in and he gives them he gives them his breath and stuff, and they're just like, oh, it's beautiful.
Because it is. Like
Right.
for them, that's it.
And see,
And there's a level
Yes.
of infinite.
yes,
Infinite
yeah.
that like comes, like, because death is it.
Right, and that's why it's so easy to control people when they believe that death is it. It's so easy for Satan, it's so easy for anyone to control people when you convince people that death is it. Death is it, okay? And so it makes a lot of sense. And so that's why they fight so hard. They say, we have to fight because we don't want to die, okay? But for the good, they say we fight for the sake of, you know, it's powerful. It's extremely powerful. Because again, the good, they understand that death is not it. Death is not the final chapter. For those who are just, the life bringer will give life. So, okay. And then once the resurrection of the dead occur, there is an establishment of a new kingdom. This kingdom is a beautiful kingdom. This kingdom will judge fairly. This kingdom will judge fairly forever. No one will be ever impoverished because everyone will take care of each other. There will be no need of fighting for food because there will be abundance of food everywhere. It's just a beautiful, beautiful place. And so that's why there's, oh yeah, go ahead, Emily.
Oh no, go ahead.
So that's why there's so the whole idea of apocalyptic literature is like right now it just sucks, but the future is good, and you live your life knowing that the future is good. Be obedient to Him. Be faithful and just. That's kind of the message of apocalyptic literature. Cool?
Cool.
Yes.
Sorry to go back.
Okay.
But the whole thing about the Lucifer story
Yeah.
really interested me.
Okay.
But in the story, I like always remember they were talking about like also that the people, or not only did Lucifer get like struck down, but like all.
He took a third of the angels down.
Yeah, and so like with that, like why didn't it goes back to the whole like why didn't he just like poof them out? Or like
And-
I know that the whole love thing.
Right. And that's our attempt in reasoning, our attempt to justify what's going on, right? But that's why, because that story, that moment of the third coming down and so forth, that comes from Revelation. That comes from Revelation, the book of Revelation. What we have of the Satan story is patchwork. We're taking bits and pieces from all the entire Bible to create this Satan story. That's what these medieval people did. But the challenge to that is to actually find in context why this is happening. And in that particular part of the story, Satan's story, where he's dropped and a third are left with him, contextually, the whole idea is this. If he takes, let's do simple math, if he takes a third down, how many is remaining in heaven? What does that mean in regards to a battle? He has the advantage. God has the advantage.
So, I know the whole love thing is like, and it's so powerful, but in my mind, it's just like, why would God still want evil though? Like,
right.
If he sees evil and he like sees it and is aware of it, then why would he even let it be there?
I'm going to cite Constantine on this one. There's a movie starring Keanu Reeves called Constantine. It's based on a comic book, and the bringing of Satan's son into the world. That's the whole story of Constantine, right? Who catalyzes it is actually Gabriel, the archangel Gabriel. And why did he do that? Because he wanted the best for humanity. And in his mind, his logic, he said the best for humanity is when evil tries to consume him. So if he brings Satan's son into the world, this manifestation of evil consuming humanity, it will strip the human beings of its ugly nature and shine the best. Selflessness, heroism, all these things, you know? And so I think the reason why evil is in this world is, or why God uses it and so forth, is for us to realize the best of us, that we can overcome, we can be better, you know? We don't simply just consume, you know? Or we don't simply have it consume us. We can stand up and fight against it, you know? So, yes.
In one of the books I had sent you, I had wrote like how Israel, like their idea of God being good was them being in the promised land, being well and them being wealthy and those things. And I just made a point to say that like I think a lot of times we do that where we wrap God being good in our conditions.
Okay. Right.
And so like, cause I was thinking in chapel one day, I was like, man, God is good. And then I was like, well, why is God good? And then I started listing things and I was like, if I had all those reasons taken away, would God still be good? You know? And it's like, do we put God's dependency on the fact that this world is like, is God good because we're healthy? Is God good because we have a place to live, because we eat? You know, it's like, if we took those reasons away, is God still good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a great question to ask, and especially when we're ripped of everything, when everything's taken away from us. And it's just like, is God still good? And a lot of times we make that definition of good dependent on what He's given us instead of who He is. That's very good. So, did you have a question?
I did, but it was totally off topic.
Oh, okay. All right. May I continue on then?
Can I still ask it though?
Sure. Okay. All right. You can ask it, and then I'll give you guys a break. Okay.
Do you think there'll be food in heaven?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Yeah, because keep in mind, we're not going up to heaven according to Revelation. Heaven comes down to earth, and the spiritual connects with the physical. There'll be food.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. And another example of that is when Jesus Christ resurrected in the Gospel of John. What does He do?
He eats.
He eats. There's one moment where He's in the room. No, never mind. I'm just adding that as an imagination. There's by the Sea of Galilee, they're fishing, and they see a fire, and they smell cooked fish, and it's like, yeah, I made breakfast for you guys. Come and eat. You know, that's it. That's it.
Definitely don't want to be eating fish for breakfast, but I have a question.
Okay, and then we'll go to Emilia first, and then Isabel.
For so long, I always thought that we were going to ascend to heaven and that hell was going to be earth.
Nope. Earth is going to be restored. Earth is going to become vibrant with life again. Once Satan does all its destructive ravaging upon the earth, it becomes a desolate wasteland, right? But God comes in and brings back life.
So where's hell going?
I don't know.
Like into hell?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Like where
on
would?
Earth right now, so.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know.
That's why I thought like we would ascend, and then that's like they have to be stuck down here where there's so much evil. And,
No,
like,
but another language of it is like he creates a new heaven and a new earth, you know, and so whatever it is, the spiritual is intersected with the physical. That's what it's going on. So physically, if we eat, you know, and so forth, we'll eat for the joy of it, not for the necessity, for the joy of it. You know? Yeah.
So last
Okay.
question of mine. So do you think that when that all happens, do you think that like when heaven comes down to earth, that the people that are in hell, do you think that they have a possibility of being redeemed? Or do you think they're always banished to hell, like always, you know? If that makes sense?
Yeah, no. There's no possibility. According to evangelical traditional doctrine, once you've been judged by God for your eternal state, it's over. It's over. And that's why on earth, we have all these chances. We have all these chances because the judgment time hasn't happened yet. And so, Sullivan.
Question. Okay, so when I was in Sunday school,
Okay.
and we used to get, disciplined, and she would tell us, like, if you are bad, you're going to go to hell, and if you are good, you're going to go to heaven, and when you're in heaven, you just snap your fingers, and you just whatever you want to eat will just come in front of you.
No, it's definitely not like that. I don't think it's like that. I don't think it's like that. I think, because keep in mind, a lot of people say you're not going to work anymore. That's hogwash. Hogwash. We're going to work. We're going to work.
I thought all we're going to be doing is worshiping.
No.
oh, so they prostrate all.
I don't think you know what you're talking about.
No. The whole idea is it's a return. It's a return back to Garden of Eden status. And what did Adam and
Hold
Eve
up.
do during that
I'm
time?
going to be working.
But here's the thing, the reason why work and toil is connected is because that's part of the curse.
I'm going to be an
That's part of the curse. When God comes back, that curse is non-existent.
Right.
So it's work with joy. It's one of those things, and that's what the American dream is, ladies and gentlemen. It's not trying to be selfish and be capitalistic and hurt other people. The true American dream is when you wake up in the morning and you go and do what you want to do, you wake up excited. Instead of you wake up, oh, this sucks. I don't want to wake up right now. You know? The whole idea of the American dream is that you wake up in the morning and say, I know this is what I'm supposed to do. That's the American dream. And then that is fully realized when God comes back. Fully realized when God comes back. So yeah, we will work. We will work. It's just I don't know what that work is. So yes.
So you're saying the American dream is God's? I'm just kidding. No, but I'm serious. No. Never mind.
What just happened?
Okay.
Thinking out loud. But so like what I feel is believe God. I mean, because like I was tripping out over the thoughts of like why God allows evil, but at the same time I remember I had a conversation with my youth pastor a few years ago, and I was like, man, like if the angels fell, like we have the potential, we could potentially fall even when we're in heaven, And I was potentially, I don't know if that's true or not. No, but I was just thinking.
Yeah. No. That's and see, this is. Don't be ashamed of thinking like this.
Yeah,
it's fine because we have to answer those things based on the Bible and so forth.
Yeah.
So the answer is no. No, because there's prophecies here where the Spirit will fully be part of us, so that we won't be able to, because the Spirit's fully there. So
that pretty much, in a sense, when we get there, makes us kind of higher than angels as well. So
right.
How do we so how I use it for evil, like in a sense, how I relate it, to like why God loves evil. But I feel like if you didn't, I don't think we would really appreciate it much. Love. That's what I feel.
Okay, that's good, and that's another, and it's not an old reason, it's not a new reason, it's an old, it's brought up, yeah. So, Okay, let's take a break. I'll give you guys till 9:15, okay?
Hallelujah.
Go ahead and read.
So, when I say period piece, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Like,
Period piece movie.
An era.
Good, in a particular era, right? And so there's a show on BBC called Downton Abbey, you know? That's a period piece, you know, it's in the Victorian age. I think it's in the Victorian age, I could be wrong. But or like the movie 300, okay? That's a period piece movie. It happened historically on another time. Another question. Do you believe or do you guys think that movies are preachy?
Some
Somewhere?
or like can you
They can
get a
be
message?
preachy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, constantly, right?
What do you mean by preachy?
Like they want to convey a message above the story.
Oh.
Like an underlying message?
Right,
I
right,
thought,
exactly.
Like there's always a moral to the story or whatever?
Right, exactly.
I
And
think
like,
there's always some sort of agenda.
absolutely, oh, very good, very good. Can anyone cite an example?
Um,
I think I really just had one. Oh, Pinocchio.
Pinocchio,
Don't lie.
don't lie, very good, very good.
Lion King.
Lion King,
Identity.
identity, okay. You ever notice movies where it's just like they go out of the story to really emphasize something and it's just like out of taste?
Yeah, Pinocchio. Don't lie.
Okay, very good. One of the movies that I think of is Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, where Anakin fights Obi-Wan Kenobi at the end of the battle. It's like teacher-student fighting each other, so it's just like it's personal to me, you know, like because I don't want to fight my student ever. But there's a moment where Anakin, and if you guys don't know who Anakin is, he becomes Darth Vader, right?
Yeah.
But he says to Obi-Wan, this should never happen, you should never do this, it's not gonna happen, da 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 da. And Obi-Wan tells to him, only Sith, this is the bad part of the Force, only Sith follow absolute truth. And yes, thank you, that's exactly right. It's just like, are you telling me as Christians, we are Sith? Boo, George Lucas, horrible, you know? But it's preachy. It's like, oh, it's almost as if this director, creator intentionally wanted to say this outside of the movie to convey a message, you know? And apparently the rumor goes is like this was during the time of the Gulf War, not the Gulf War, Iraqi freedom, when George W. Bush started war with Iraq and stuff. And George Bush was a evangelical Christian, and so he was saying that basically George Bush was evil, you know, and so anyways. But movies can be preachy like that, okay?
It hurts.
It does, it hurts a lot.
Yeah.
And, that's my example, Why am I saying all this? Okay, in regards to, let's put it all together. What if you had a period piece movie, a historical movie, and wanting to convey a message for our time? Do you think that's effective? And why would it be effective?
One more time.
Okay, so movies, like you said, I couldn't agree more. They have an agenda. They're telling a message. They're sharing a message. You know what I'm saying? But they don't actually tell the news, though. They don't tell the news. Like, for example, Happy Feet. How many of you watched that movie, Happy Feet?
Oh my goodness.
You know? There's a message behind it, right? What was the message of Happy Feet?
It was
Free on
it's okay to be different.
Okay, it's okay to be different, but what's the
but you're
overarching message?
Oh, like there's some pollution.
Exactly. Pollution is affecting the happiness of penguins and they can't dance anymore. You know what I'm saying? And so why is that more effective in talking about global warming and pollution than actually saying, hey, based on data, global warming and pollution is bad?
Because the emotional factor.
The emotional factor, very good. Exactly. There's a connection with story. You can connect with story. Like with Happy Feet, you connected with the penguin. It's like, man, I'm different. He's different. He doesn't like to sing. I like to dance, you know? And it's just like there's this connection, but then some greater force out there is affecting the dance, you know? And so what is that? That's pollution. And then in your mind, emotionally, you say pollution is bad, pollution's evil, pollution's wrong. Very good. Movies can do that.
Yeah.
Movies can compel you to believe in things because the emotion is there. That's the power of story. That's the power of story. Okay? Now, why am I saying this in regards to the book of Daniel? Why am I saying that? Okay? And it has to do with the time and date that it's written. But go ahead.
I was going to say that probably because a lot of Daniel's stories. And so it causes us to kind of connect with it a little bit more.
Right.
With like maybe from our lives or something similar.
Right. Excellent. Very good. So, that being said, I'm talking about the dating of the book right now. Okay? Traditional evangelical theory suggests that it was a historical account during the time of Daniel. Okay? So that means it was written in the 6th century BC. 6th century BC. Okay? So a lot of Christians believe that this is a historical account when the event historically actually happened. Okay?
So it was written the same time
As Daniel was. It was written during the time that Daniel was living or shortly after his death. Right? Okay? So it was written in the 6th century. Okay? Now don't worry about the second point. I'll bring about the reason why I brought the second point after. So don't worry about that. Write it down though. Don't worry about it. I'll explain after my discussion here. Okay? So a lot of people believe it was written during the time of Daniel. Okay? And then because of that, the author, if you believe that it was written in the 6th century, the author is Daniel. Okay? All right. The other theory, and this is based on the understanding of Daniel 7 through 12. The other theory that it wasn't written in the 6th century, but 400 years after, during the 2nd century of Greek occupation under the ruler Antiochus Epiphanes IV. And you might be saying, who the heck is Antiochus Epiphanes IV? I will explain. I will explain.
What was that?
Huh? That's my general view of students.
Girls?
Wow.
No, of students.
Students?
Wow.
Is it because there's only one male in here?
No, why do you think it was a girl?
Hello?
Okay,
Maybe
Because you made your voice hard.
Maybe because
just
it's
do it
rather.
one more time.
I'm
Just
sorry.
do it one more time.
I'm sorry. Let me do it all over again. So a lot of people believe that it was during the time of the 2nd century, during Greek occupation of Israel, under the ruler of Antiochus Epiphanes IV. Now, some of you might be thinking, who the heck is Antiochus Epiphanes IV? All right?
It's a little better.
I'm going to explain it to you later. All right? I'll explain to you who the heck is Antiochus Epiphanes IV. Okay?
That was really funny.
Wasn't that funny?
I apologize. All right.
It's fine.
All right. If that is the case, this is the breakdown of what's happening, okay? Point one I want to bring up. Chapters 1 through 6 were written and compiled in the 4th to 2nd century. So a lot of people who believe that Daniel was written in the 2nd century believe that Daniel didn't exist, that he was a fictional character for the sake of the purpose of writing this book. Okay, I disagree. I think he was a historical figure. Okay, and that the stories of him were preserved through oral tradition and then were later written. Okay, that compiling happened between the 4th and 2nd century. Okay, so it was really started by oral tradition. So just if you could imagine just simply, hey, did you hear about what Daniel did? No, I didn't. Did you hear about what he went through? No, I didn't. And then they continued on that story into the 4th and 2nd century. Okay? So that's what's going on in chapters 1 through 6. Chapters 7 through 12, the historical moment of when chapters 7 through 12 were written was during the Maccabean revolt. And does anyone know what the Maccabean revolt is?
Was it between the two Bibles?
No.
I mean,
It is between the two testaments. It's between the Old Testament and the New Testament. You're absolutely right. But it's when Israel fought against the Greek forces.
Really?
It's when Israel fought against the Greek forces. We don't really have a book in the Bible that talks about that. Okay? But a holiday comes from it. A holiday comes from it.
Okay.
Hanukkah.
Oh my gosh,
Very
really?
good. Hanukkah.
Potato
Really?
cake.
Yeah.
That was a good
Hanukkah is the holiday that comes to commemorate the Maccabean revolt. Okay? So, one more time. It is believed by these groups of people who believe that it was written in the 2nd century. It is believed that it was written during the time of the Maccabean revolt. Okay? Which is 164 BC.
What are we supposed to believe?
You guys have to decide that.
Oh.
I'm going to give you the
Just
options.
tell us.
Okay. Conservative mindset.
Conservative mindset is written in the 6th century.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? So, it is believed that chapter 7 through 12 was written during the time of the Maccabean revolt. Okay? The biggest defense that these guys who support this theory have is because during this time in the 2nd century, there was the beginning of apocalyptic literature. You see apocalyptic literature becoming super famous in the 2nd century. It's like when Twitter and Instagram got introduced. It was a huge hit. You know what I'm saying? It was at this moment, at this time, when apocalyptic literature was a huge hit in the 2nd century. Okay? Another defense of why people believe this 2nd century dating is because there's a term in chapters 7 through 12, and that term is the Great Abomination. The Great Abomination was a term, it's a coined term. They used it like an expression after the 2nd century. You never saw it before, you never saw it before the 2nd century, you saw it after the 2nd century. Okay? So that's why a lot of scholars believe that Daniel was written during the 2nd century rather than the 6th century. Okay? Here's my defense for the 6th century. Instead of thinking that the reason why Daniel was written in the 2nd because it has apocalyptic literature, I would say, second point under 6th century, what if Daniel was the father of apocalyptic literature?
Ooh.
What if he started it? What if he was the one that began it? Okay? Why not? Because it's historical, it's precedented. For example, the reason why we're into fantasy genre about castles and elves and dwarves and orcs and stuff like that, do you know who started it? Gerald Tolkien and C.S. Lewis in the 60s. If they didn't write their work, we would still be into science fiction and all that stuff. I mean, we still are, don't get me wrong. But the reason why people are so into that stuff is because of Gerald Tolkien and C.S. Lewis. From that comes this great game. You might not have played it, but it's super popular. Dungeons and Dragons, right, exactly. And then from then on, you have, everything else, It started the popularity of that genre when no one ever wanted to talk about it, okay? That could have been the same thing with apocalyptic literature. Daniel brought it up first. He's the one that actually did it first, right? And then in the 2nd century, it became super popular. So. Okay? Cool?
Okay.
Questions? Anyone have questions? Okay, yes.
If I got a group together, would you be your dungeon master?
I've never played, so I shouldn't be a dungeon master first, but I'm so down. I'm so down. Okay, cool. let's stop here. Let's go to another slide. I'm going to talk about the historical background now, because you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to believe me. I really believe that Daniel was written in the second century. I personally believe that Daniel was written in the 2nd century because it makes a lot of sense of what's happening during that time, okay? I wish we could read 7 through 12. I really wish we could read 7 through 12. But knowing the historical background, I'll give you guys a challenge. Knowing the historical background, I'll give you guys a challenge. Once I tell you all this stuff, read 7 through 12 and ask yourself, does it make more sense knowing this historical background, okay? That's what I want you to do. Okay? If it doesn't, that's fine. You did it. I respect that. I love you for it. But if you do, just ask yourself. Okay? Cool. So let me finish this and go on to the next presentation. Okay?
We should do Bible studies here.
You want me to? Because I would so do it.
Yeah. We should set that up.
Surprise you.
Brandon? You the RA. Moni? You the ARA. We got authority in this room.
All right. Once upon a time, it began with this figure.
Oh my gosh, I love you.
Alexander the Great.
Oh!
So, how many empires have we went through? We went through Assyria. Good, Burnett. Who did we go through next? Babylon. Who did we go through next?
Persia.
Okay, excellent. During the waning years of the Persian Empire, okay, there was this other empire growing on the cross of the Mediterranean. This other empire, okay? That empire was ruled by this gentleman named Philip of Macedon. And his vision was to unite the Greek nations. Okay? Including their foreign neighbors in Philistia. Okay? So imagine Greece near Italy. Okay? That's where it is. But they had their brothers and sisters, their Greek brothers and sisters, where Israel's at, in Philistia, okay? So he wants to unite that entire area for Greece. Unfortunately, he failed. But he had a son, and that son was named Alexander Magos, or Alexander the Great, okay? So boom, let's talk about him. He's the son of Philip of Macedon, just like I said before. He made Greece a world empire. What does that mean? He defeated the Persian Empire. He did it when he was 21 years old. Tell me about it. He made Greek a world empire when he was 21 years old. Okay? Crazy.
Was he the emperor that was taught by one of those philosophers?
Yes. What's his name? You sure?
Okay, say it again.
Augustus.
No, it's a student. It's Aristotle's student. It's Aristotle's student. It's named after.
Starts with a G.
What?
Does it start with a G?
No, it doesn't. It starts with a P.
Paul.
No.
Plato.
Plato. Very good. We'll talk about Plato. Okay. Good. Very good. See how everything's connected?
I'm trying to tell you, my 30 is looking good.
So he conquers Persia, and as a good teacher, I should give you the date. I don't. Just know that he conquers Persia, though. He just conquers Persia.
338
Okay.
BC. 338, I think.
Let's do 333,
Okay.
just to make it easier for us.
Okay.
But that's exactly right. Good job. 333 BC. So let's all listen to Burnett. When did he conquer Persia?
333.
Yeah, 333. 333 BC. Okay. Our buddy Alexander conquers Persia and therefore that world at the time at 333 BC. Okay. So 333 BC. Remember that. 333 BC. He conquers Persia. 333 BC. He conquers Persia. One more time. 333 BC. He conquers Persia. Very good. Very good. However, 10 years after that, he mysteriously dies. No one knows how he dies. No one knows. Okay? There's a lot of controversy and a lot of conspiracy of how he died. Okay? So no one really knows. The problem is he didn't have an heir. He didn't have a son to rule the throne. Wow, very good, Monica. That's exactly right.
Oh yeah,
Who
but
divided it?
his generals.
His generals, exactly. His generals split his kingdom.
Yes, but one of them had like, I have it on the map.
Okay. His generals split the kingdom. They said, well, if he had no sons, it's ours. This vast kingdom is ours. And they split it, okay? This is known, you don't have to know this, but this is known as the Dia Dochai. The Dia Dochai.
What does that mean?
It's basically, it's splitting through. It's splitting through. That's the literal translation. But it's when, it's these generals who split up Alexander's kingdom. Okay? All right, now he had a lot of generals, but there's 3 in particular that I want you guys to know. All right? 3 in particular.
Thessalonis.
Oh yeah, the Solomon. And then the PT, it starts with PT.
Tamales.
I love this. You guys are great.
Tommy!
May I continue on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. May I continue on?
Yes.
All right. Here's Alexander's generals, the 3 major ones. 3 major ones, okay? There was this guy named Antigonus Cyclops. Antigonus Cyclops. Why was he called Cyclops?
One eye.
One eye, exactly. Here's the thing that what makes him famous. In battle, you need 2 eyes. If you had 1 eye, you're done. You're done, okay? But this guy says, screw it, I'm going to fight, and I'm going to fight till the end, and he survived. And he survived, and he was a massive warrior. He was a beast in battle. He was a monster in battle, and that's why he calls him Cyclops, Antigonus Cyclops, okay?
That Homer story from?
Yes. No. They had him before. They named him after that Homer story. Yes.
Obviously, it wasn't in the middle.
Obviously not.
So did he wear like, I know this is really stupid, but did he wear an eye patch?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He wore an eye patch. So, the second general, see, it's such a good book. Such a good book. The second general is a person by the name of Ptolemais. Ptolemais. Okay? Oh, I forgot. So, Antigonus Cyclops, he's split, so they're splitting up the kingdom. Antigonus Cyclops takes Asia Minor, Syria, and Palestine. Antigonus Cyclops takes Asia Minor, Syria, and Palestine. Okay? Yes.
Why does it seem like he gets all the good ones?
No, he gets the armpit of the world.
Really?
Yeah, we have to no, Antigonus Cyclops does.
Oh.
We have to understand the majority of this area is desert and backwoods kind of area. Egypt, Ptolemy got it rich. Ptolemy got the best. Ptolemy got Egypt and North Africa. This place was abundant. He was raking in the money. Oh, and by the way, does anyone know who Cleopatra is?
Yeah, that's the homegirl that was in love with him.
There you go. Cleopatra's not Egyptian. She's not ethnically Egyptian. She's Greek.
What?
She is the great granddaughter of Ptolemy. Okay? Just so you know. All right? Finally, third general is this guy named Seleucus Nicator. Seleucus Nicator. Okay? And he takes Mesopotamia to India. Okay?
That's also not that bad.
No, not bad at all. Seleucus Nicator, do you know what his name literally means? His nickname, Nicator? Victorious one. So these guys are proud, let's say the least.
Yeah.
All right?
Say that.
Could you just imagine just coming into a party and it's like, oh, here's Seleucus. No, you know better what to call me. There goes the victorious one. Idiot. No, so, okay, why do I bring this up? It's these 3 generals and their influence that affect Palestine, which is Israel during the time. So, long story short, Ptolemy and Seleucus, they say, we want Palestine. Why do they want Palestine? It's called the Levant. It's the land bridge. It's the land bridge, okay? Exactly. Very good, Monica. So they need that land to go to get good trade and so forth, right? Because Ptolemy is one end of the world. Seleucus Nicator is the other end of the world. It's like, we need to connect. We need trade. I was like, you're right. We need to kill Antigonus Cyclops. I was like, you're right. So they allied themselves to fight against the Tignis Cyclops, and Tignis Cyclops dies. Okay? And Ptolemy and Seleucus Nicator goes, yeah, good job. And I was like, well, who owns the Levant? And it's almost as if simultaneously they say, I do. You know? I was like, wait a minute. I thought I had more at stake here. I should own the Levant. I should own Palestine. And the other one goes, no. I had more at stake here. You know, imagine how hard it is to fight, you know, stuff like that. And so they grumble, and guess what? Ptolemy and Seleucus Nicator fight each other.
Of course.
Okay? And then for the first portion, Ptolemy owned the Levant, or Palestine. But then Seleucus Nicator finally says, we beat you, you're done. So Seleucus Nicator, that general, owned Palestine after all this. Okay? Don't worry about the dates. I'm just trying to fill up the gap. Okay? So the descendant of Seleucus Nicator is this guy, Antiochus IV Epiphanes. Okay?
Oh, okay. Now it's
Seleucus. This is the descendant of Seleucus Nicator. Antiochus IV Epiphanes. Epiphanes is his nickname. You know what that nickname means?
It's like a
Epiphany.
sudden realization.
God's revelation. So, again, what a proud schmuck. What an extremely proud schmuck. And so again, here comes Antiochus IV. You know better. What do you call me? Here comes God's revelation. Shut up. Yes, Emily,
Is
go.
that where Epiphany comes from?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so Antiochus IV Epiphanes. Here was one of his political things that he wanted to do. In his region, which include Israel, okay? In his region, he said, you know what? We need to Hellenize this entire region. Hellenize it. What does that mean, to Hellenize?
to make it Greek.
To make it Greek. Very good. We need to make it more Greek. It's not Greek enough. We need to add more yogurt here. We need to add more lamb kebab here. We need to have some more moussaka here. It's not Greek enough. We need to Hellenize it, right? So, one of the things you need to do to Hellenize it, and this is a common practice in the Near East, is to make every temple a Greek temple. One more time. One of the ways to Hellenize a nation or Hellenize an area is the temples there will then become Greek temples. So, this is the time when this temple is rebuilt. This is the second temple, right? Antiochus's men come in, okay? And they go to the temple of the Lord, and they do the stupidest thing in the entire world.
They sacrificed.
They did what? They sacrificed a what, Chelsea? They sacrificed a pig on the altar of the Lord. December 167 BC. On December 167 BC, they sacrificed a pig in the temple of Jerusalem. Okay? Go to Daniel 11:31, someone, quickly. Go to Daniel 11:31. And raise your hand so you can read it.
Daniel 31.
Chelsea, go for it. Daniel 11:31.
Says, his armed force will rise up to desecrate the temple fortress and will abolish the daily sacrifice. Then they will set up the abomination that causes desolation. With flattery he will corrupt those who have violated the covenant, but the people who know their God will firmly resist him.
A lot of evangelical Christians think that this is the Antichrist once the temple is rebuilt on the Dome of Omar, Rock of Omar, or something like that, and that's this and that.
This is Antiochus Epiphanes.
This is Antiochus Epiphanes. That abomination that causes desolation, that's this day. December 167.
So how's it possible for the 9th century for it to be written?
It's a taco truck.
Okay, thank you. So it might be that what that suggests, Burnett, is that Daniel is prophetic of it. He's prophesying of it, right? But this is 400 years after Daniel, okay? I believe that Daniel 11:31 is talking about Antiochus IV Epiphanes and what he did. So the abomination that causes desolation is when he sacrificed a pig in the Lord's temple. Okay? All right, so one more time. Again, you don't have to believe me, but I want you to put this in your notes. Okay? Daniel 11:31. Abomination that causes desolation. I'll write this for you. The abomination that causes desolation.
Isn't that on the slider?
Equals, I didn't put this.
Okay.
Sacrificing a pig. Sacrificing a pig. Okay, in the temple. You need to know that. December 167 BC. Okay? That's what it is. That's what he's talking about. The abomination that causes desolation is when Antiochus IV sacrifices a pig in the temple. Okay? Now, did all of Israel accepted that?
No.
No, of course not. There was a gentleman in the suburbs of Jerusalem. May I continue on?
Yeah.
There's a gentleman in the suburbs of Jerusalem. His name is Mattathias.
Ooh, that's the homie.
Mattathias, okay? This guy was an old guy, an elderly priest, but boy howdy, when he found out that a pig was sacrificed in his Lord's temple, something stirred up within him. Something stirred up within him, okay? He lived, like I said, in a suburb of Jerusalem, lived in Modain, 17 miles northwest of Jerusalem, and he did well for himself. 5 sons. He had 5 sons.
Simeon, Judas. Oh, Judas.
It's a very popular name. So these 5 sons, John, Simeon, Judas, Eleazar, and Jonathan. I don't know their ages, and I don't know if it's in order. Just know that he had 5 sons. Okay? He was one of the few, not few, but he was one of the many that resists Antiochus IV's Hellenized program. He didn't like it. He thought it was an abomination that causes desolation. Okay? How does he do it? When Antiochus IV's representative go to the city of Modain, he goes Spartan on them. He kills the representatives.
Drop kicks them.
He slits their throats.
Oh.
Slits their throats. Okay? All right. This begins a revolt against Greek power. This begins a revolt against Greek power. However, good old Mattathias dies. His son, Judas, leads after Mattathias. Okay? Judas also has a nickname. Okay? His nickname is Maccabeus, which means the hammer. Okay? So, if you want anyone to lead a revolt or a rebel force against the empire, you need someone called the hammer. Right? So, and it's because of this nickname is what we call the revolt, the Maccabean revolt. The Maccabean revolt. Okay? The Maccabees. Anyone ever celebrated Hanukkah?
No, we're planning on doing it this year.
It's fun. Instead of one day, you have 9 apparently.
Yeah, Morgan's gonna do a party for us.
Yeah, we're planning on doing a party with Morgan.
Oh, great.
We want to celebrate Hanukkah with her.
Nice.
I'm excited.
Speaking of parties.
Her birthday's in 1 week. I don't know yet. She's gonna give me the information.
And it's so providential that we're learning all this because next month is the celebration of Hanukkah.
This is Hanukkah. This is Hanukkah. This is Hanukkah. This is Hanukkah.
We learned this before. I just don't know which class. Maybe it was
New
a
Testament.
What's your city?
Western Civ or
Or was it your class?
New Testament.
It was
I taught this in geographical.
we
Survey.
We
had it
it
we had it in
was-
Western Civ.
Oh.
No, it was.
No, but in the survey
New
of
Testament.
the survey of New
Oh
Testament,
my
he
gosh, I
went
just
over
looked at my notes.
That's
Listen to me.
May I continue on?
Yeah.
Alright. Judas Maccabeus, okay. He needed help, and you don't have to worry about this, but this is a interesting note. He needed help, and he had a collection of holy monk warriors known as the Hasidim.
That would be a cool color.
That would be, right?
Yeah.
But the crazy thing about the Hasidim is that they are the ones who they are the ancestors, if you will, of the Pharisees.
Really?
The Hasidim are they become priests and they become rabbis and they then become Pharisees.
Does it
Yeah.
have to do with Hased?
Maybe that's a good question. Yes.
Is that why we have such a view of monks? Well, I can't say we, but like commonly people have a view of like monks are like not good.
No. There's other reasons because Christians have monks. Christians have
That's
monks.
what that's what I was thinking, because in my eyes, I give the monks credit.
Yeah.
To be able to, first of all, shave your head. I mean, I guess it's not that bad for men, but I mean, the point is,
Did you see?
and then like, the second thing is to literally have to control
Yeah.
they have such self-control and patience
Yep. I agree.
that it's ridiculous. I don't think I would have that.
Nope. Nor I. I wanted to be a monk actually. After high school, I wanted to be a monk.
What happened?
I wanted to get married. So
That makes sense.
You're married?
no, I'm
And
not.
then
I
I wanted to say.
It was the opportunity to
Never
get
mind.
married. You could have became a monk for a while. You decided
could've
not
been.
to.
no, it's like a lifelong
I know, but you
commitment.
could
Are there such things as Christian monks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because
You mean-
my neighbors.
When you mean Christian, you mean like Protestant monks?
I'm not sure. I just.
There's
know
only
that.
Catholic monks.
Hasidians are descendants of Pharisees.
No, like-
I just think of Buddhist.
Orange,
The ancestors of
orange robe monk.
That's
Orange
Buddhist.
robe monk?
Yeah.
Buddhist
Like
monks.
kung fu
Okay,
monks?
because I lived in like an
That's
Asian, predominant Asian
Okay.
suburb,
Okay.
and my neighbors, they had their church sticker on the back of their car, but their dad was a bald, orange robe
That's a Buddhist monk.
kind of monk,
That's a Buddhist monk.
but he's Christian.
Buddhist monks.
He used to be a philosophy, isn't it?
True, but I'm interested to ask him what that's all about because there's no monk, there's no brotherhood or no monastic order that wears orange robes in Christianity.
Yeah,
Except.
because I know my family is like Laotian.
Okay.
And the
The Buddhist monks
yeah, they're
wear orange robes,
Buddhist, and
right?
they do the orange robes and everything.
Oh yeah, I'm not sure. I want to ask him then. That's interesting. So let me finish up. We're almost done. Judas Maccabeus defeats the Seleucid forces. They defeat the Seleucid forces. Okay, they defeat Antioch. Antiochus Epiphanes the fourth. In Kislev 25-164. What does that mean? On December 25th, 164 BC. Okay, December 25th, 164 BC. They take the temple. Judas Maccabeus takes the temple, they cleanse it, and they rededicate it back to the Lord. Okay? They rededicate it back to the Lord. And there was a celebration from that rededication, inaugurating this event that lasts for 8 days. Okay? And then these 8 days are known as the dedication or the Festival of Lights.
Which is Hanukkah.
Hanukkah. Yes, exactly. Hanukkah. And question, did Jesus, our Lord and Savior, celebrate Hanukkah?
Yeah.
Of course he did.
Did
In
he
John,
eat potato cakes?
he probably, I don't know if that's
That's
an
so
ancient
good.
tradition, but they are good. He did celebrate Hanukkah in the Gospel of John. In the Gospel of John, he goes and says, it's the Festival of Lights, and his brothers tease him. He's like, you're the Messiah, you should go and let yourself known in Jerusalem. And then he goes, I'll go my own time. And he goes. So, I think that's
Looks like Jesus had a little bit of attitude.
I think a little bit.
But he was the oldest brother.
Yeah. Oh, good point.
I'll
So
go
then
wherever the
talking
heck I
back
want
to him like that is kind of messed up. Oh man, if Joseph was still alive. But, yes. So
But
The
Joseph
reason-
died.
Joseph died.
Yeah,
No.
so where does that account?
What?
Oh, that's a good point.
Like, we never see that.
That's
I'm
a
not sure.
good
The only thing we know is that when he was at the cross, and then Jesus talking to the beloved, and he said, "Take care of my mom."
Right, that's a good point. It's assumed in the
Joseph
scriptures.
died.
But it's a later tradition. Joseph died. Okay, defeat of the Seleucid forces. That's why we celebrate Hanukkah. So again, one more time. My personal opinion is that the book of Daniel was written not in the 6th century, but in the 2nd century. That they're using a 6th century figure to criticize and rebuke and chastise the Greek oppressing force during the 2nd century. Okay? And it happens a lot. We see that a lot. Even outside of the Bible, we see that a lot. So that's my opinion. You don't have to believe it. But I think it makes a lot more sense.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
I think it makes, when you read, honestly, when you don't know what's happening in the background of chapter 7 through 12, it's like, what is this man talking about? What is he talking about? But when you understand this history, this Israel's history at this time, you read it and it's like, oh, this must mean him. This must mean him. It makes a lot more sense. Yes.
So how do we move on from this Maccabee stuff to the Roman Empire?
After Greece comes Rome.
But this is a pit stop because they're destroying the Hellenized people.
And it only happened for a moment, but Hellenization, it doesn't need to be an empire. It became so pervasive that Rome kind of continued the Hellenization of the world. So yeah. Why do I think it's good to have it in the 2nd century, the book of Daniel? Here's why. In our Protestant Bibles, we don't have this time period. We don't have books of this time period between Malachi and Matthew. Like a lot of Protestants say it's the silent years. The silent years where God didn't speak between Malachi and Matthew. It is. And for me, I was like, what if Daniel's written in the 2nd century? We have a voice during the silent years in our own Bible. And I think that's significant because God doesn't remain silent for a certain amount of time.
That's what I'm saying. 400 years.
Right. So that's my take. But all right. Thank you for this class. This was wonderful. I learned a lot from this time, and I hope you guys learned a lot with the major prophets as well.
Yes.
So next Wednesday, you can come in. It's not forced. You can come in. You can make it up, but I need the creative projects all done. We'll have donuts. We'll have everything. It will be wonderful. Okay.
So
On Wednesday.
are we having the night thing?
Unfortunately, we can't.
Oh, we are not.
So we're gonna do the night thing in the day on Wednesday. So okay. And then Friday.
So no jazz?
No,
wine.
I mean, we can do.
Definitely
We
not.
can definitely still do like the jazz.
No sake bomb?
So that being said.